Lovely. Really nice.
It's incredible, isn't it? And I'm not joking, Louis. I'm not exaggerating at all. That was unplayable before. And I literally just... I kept on attempting to get it playable myself for like 15 years, and I couldn't do it. And he took it for a week or 2 weeks.
This chord is very hard for most guitars to sound right, and it sounds beautiful.
And I even wrote to Taylor about it, and I explained everything. And because I found after I found Antonio and after he fixed it, I looked it up, and I found on like Reddit and various other places that loads and loads and loads of people had problems with Baby Taylor 1. That's a Baby Taylor 1. They're now on Baby Taylor 2. It's exactly the same thing they had problems with, but Taylor won't admit it, and I was really, really shocked, actually. Shocked. I don't know if the shocked is the right word. I think I bought into their PR that they're this family-run company that have got your best interests as a guitar player at heart. They want to have the best guitar. Yeah. All that kind of PR spin.
I recently bought a guitar for travelling.
Yeah.
And it's the Harley Benton.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And in the comments, people saying I got a free. They bought a Taylor and they got a Baby Taylor for free as part of some deal, and they got rid of it. They sold it when they tried this Harley Benton, and it's really good. I love it. It's super easy to play.
Yeah, I got. Again, I'll show it to you. I'm outside in the storeroom. I've got a Harley Benton Les Paul copy, and Antonio took it, and it's like a £2,000 or £3,000 Les Paul. Yeah, I don't know, like Epiphone Les Paul copy now. It's brilliant.
Oh man,
I think it cost a few $100 originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's done a really, really good job. I mean, one of the. Which way around is it? The bridge pickup is not very good. The neck pickup is great. But, it's just exactly as it came from Harley Benton. But it was unplayable. That I have to say that.
Right.
The way that it arrived from them. But now he's transformed it.
Oh, I've got to meet this guy.
Yeah. Okay, so we're recording. But we're not. We completely forgot to talk about you as a musician. I mean, we talked about it for a minute or two, but you didn't really say too much about you as a musician. So I just thought maybe you wanted to kind of like, I don't know, expand on that a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Louis Hanshaw, and I'm here with Nic. Are you going to do your intro thing?
No, I'm not going to.
No.
No, we can if you want to.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
Just leave it cash.
Yeah.
Okay. So me and my music. Well, it's been with me for quite some time. So I don't know if I said I started when I was 13 on the guitar. I'd meddled with the clarinet a bit. Didn't really get on with it. Didn't even really get on with the guitar. My dad tried to get me to play a bit when I was young. I'm really going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it was only when I was 13 and I was a bit bigger, and I was at my cousin's and he had this electric guitar, and it just started to gel at that point. And then I was playing a lot every day, and took some breaks off. Had a go at doing like an EP. Was in Germany, did some studio time over there, and kind of had a manager, but it was mainly someone that sort of funded me and my bandmate to be in the studio for like every day. And we just had loads of fun messing around, recording stuff, coming up with ideas. And it didn't go anywhere. It just didn't go anywhere because we were sending out demos and stuff. And it was like the very beginning of social media. Like YouTube was a thing, but it wasn't really seen as a way to grow an audience. It wasn't being capitalized at that point.
Yeah.
So it was still very much the power is in the hands of these record companies. And that was the idea at the time, was like try and get signed. And I don't think the awareness, well, yeah, there was an awareness of like how bad the deals are for most artists.
Do you think that, let's say, the general public, the listening public, are aware of how bad it is for musicians and with record companies?
No, because I think they've done a number on everyone, like because they convinced the artist that that's the holy grail, that's the thing that you want to try and achieve, and it's all glamour, like in the music videos, everyone's drinking champagne and doing whatever, fast cars, private jets. That's the image that they like to portray. Whether that's the artist himself doing it or I don't know.
Do you remember that song by Dire Straits, where it was one of the first MTV, like big videos on MTV, and they said "money for nothing and chicks for free."
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea that that's the lyric, the idea that the general public think that that's what it's like for musicians, for rock musicians.
Is that what it's about?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, that they get their money for nothing and chicks for free. Yeah. Anyway.
So I was a bit disillusioned with it all. Did life stuff. Started having kids, building, and really the when all the COVID stuff took off. I mean, I've always got this little voice in my head about don't leave the music. You'll be upset if you leave the music. Just keep at it. And so I play reasonably often, and I've got songs. I've put out a few songs, not in any kind of monetized way. I've just made videos. Gone to beautiful places. I've been learning a lot about the production side of things. And then when I really lock myself into a room with my headphones and really, EQ everything and it's like all the grunt work. I'm quite good at doing it, but it's a bit of a ball ache to get over that hurdle to do it.
Yeah.
And I've got like 70 tracks and it's all a mess and the mix sounds horrible because nothing's been EQ'd. So I've got a project that I'm working on at the moment, which I just got to get through that, and then it will start sounding nice, and I'll fall back in love with the project again.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and do another video.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to record a song, produce it as good as I can because I'm learning it along the way.
Yeah.
Until I get to the point where maybe I'll meet someone that says, "Oh, I can do that a bit better. Should we work together?" Or I don't know. But I'm just doing it to get myself out there and to not be so rusty with getting the music out.
I think that one of our friends, I can't remember when this year was, it must have been maybe a year ago or half a year ago, one of our friends said to me, "You have to have a look at this." And they sent me a link to one of your videos. And is it called Dragonfly?
Yeah.
And more or less, your video is you on a mountain walk with your camera or something. It looks like that. You're up in the mountains or something, or
So in a river.
By a river, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong about this, but I assumed it's somewhere around here, somewhere in Andalusia, in the mountains. And I looked at it and just thought, of course, that's what you should do. That is the obvious idea. You're surrounded by this beautiful nature. It's like just a couple of shots edited together, isn't it? It's not like 7 different angles or something like this. It's just, is it a selfie stick?
It's so Christina, my wife, she goes around we've got a motorized gimbal, like a cheapy Chinese type thing, but you just put your phone in. And the iPhones are pretty good with image stabilization anyway, so the combination of the gimbal and the iPhone.
Yeah.
And she'll just walk around and just does her artistic way. She'll just try things.
Yeah.
And so one of the times So the time when I was in a river, that's for Dragonfly. I had a little a little.
So if people go to YouTube and just put in Louis Hanshaw and Dragonfly, they'll come up with that. Is that all right?
Yeah. There's only one person with my name.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And I had a portable speaker with me, and I was playing a metronome because I knew the tempo. So I'd just be playing along. What did I have? Actually, the song.
I remember you actually said something about this to me. You hadn't recorded it.
That was another one. So that was what I was going to get onto. The one called The Feeling was it's like on the top of this mountain, and it was sunrise.
Yeah.
And it was just stunning. Like the colours were incredible, and the views. Oh, it was just really, really perfect. Got up really early to catch the sunrise, and but I didn't know the tempo. I'd written this song when I was maybe like 20.
Yeah.
But I'd never fixed the tempo. So I was just kind of guessing it. And by the time I had to edit the video together, some of the bits were faster than others. And when I had to kind of actually produce the song, I kind of went from the video to get the tempo and to kind of make sure, well, did I do it that fast? Or to then set the tempo in Logic and then produce the song. It's kind of funny. So it's much easier if you've done the song, and you've got, at least you've got the metronome. Preferably if you can play the whole song back, so you know exactly. And that's what we did recently. We were in Portugal, and this song called "Blessed Be," and I was just having the song played back, and so I was walking around. I wasn't with the guitar or anything. I was just walking around on these rocks, right next to the sea. Beautiful, but yeah, it's fun. Yeah. It's fun to just go around traveling, do little music video shoots. No one's watching it, but I'm having fun making it, you know. And that's not forever. That's just for now. Just trying to get over this hump of, okay, I'm a kind of secret musician at the moment, but it'll always be that way unless I just start doing it.
Well, okay, hang on a second. You say you're a secret musician. What do you mean? You mean like a bedroom musician? Is that what you mean? Because all I was going to say is we had a very, very, very quick play the other day for an hour or so, and you're definitely not a bedroom musician. I wouldn't have put you in that category. You're a player.
Yeah, it's. I'm quite humble with my abilities.
Yeah,
and. Because I'm my worst critic, and I just think, oh, you don't practice enough. Oh, how good would you be if you practiced? Like how amazing would you be if you did like 3 hours a day? And I just don't have that kind of discipline. Or I've got so much going on.
Do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy? Okay, my question's really, what are your aspirations musically? Do you have some kind of goal or mission, or like, is there a game plan? What are you planning for the next year or so?
Right. Well, it's interesting because I don't know so much about the music industry at all, and the things I do know I don't really like.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving to some kind of new paradigm in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Where artists will actually get paid fairly. The power will get somehow taken away from Spotify and these streaming services that are paying next to nothing.
We're going to get to that I'm not. What I'm saying is I'm excited about what you're saying because it's going to link with what we're going to talk about later on.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of. So on my vision boards, I've been using a vision board recently to kind of try and put out into the universe, the quantum field, what I want to try and attract. And one of the things was adventures in a motorhome, and that's happened thanks to Misha, which is amazing. Yeah.
You want to say anything about that? I mean, I don't want you to talk about things you don't want to talk about, but that is quite exciting.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So one of the things I put on my vision board is a video or a song with 1 million listens or a video with 1 million views. Because I thought if I get to that point, things may start opening up.
Shouldn't limit yourself. Should have been 5 million.
Right. Well, I just thought, well, let's put something up,
Yeah.
and because then when I hit that, that's great. I'd put something else up, and because I know there's you can work with film, TV.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm looking a bit too old now for the pop scene. I just don't know.
I love it.
Because there's loads of really great youngsters out there making great music, really talented guys. But then I see
This is a huge topic, though. That one sentence that you just picked on. But let's keep going.
yeah. But then I see like independent artists coming out from seemingly from nowhere, but behind the scenes they've been putting in loads of legwork and they've been building their communities. And,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just. I've got the potential to connect with a few of the. So I'm into the kind of truther stuff, the freedom movement, and I've done a few interviews with some people that are connected with that, and that's where the best is yet to come song got quite a lot of views because it resonated with a lot of people that are kind of looking at the Q movement, that sort of stuff, and. So there's connections with that I could look at, but I need to make more of my craft and make beautiful things, and then start to link out and try and get on, make a bit more community. But I don't have a game plan because I don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to just keep on getting. Well, I've got this concept. I think I mentioned it last time about my body of work. I've got these hundreds of ideas that I've loved enough to get my phone out and record them.
Yeah.
Like riffs or chord sequences or whatever. And I've loved them enough to do that. And I think, yeah, that's cool. And I've periodically I go through them, listen to them. I think, yeah, I've got to do something with it. And I just keep adding to these ideas. Yeah. And I think that I'm sitting on a huge catalogue of work. If I can just dedicate enough time to
I am
sit
listening.
down. And
I just got to adjust something.
okay. If I can
keep
just dedicate some time to just sequentially go through them and get them to some kind of. I'm even thinking about doing it like just to video myself recording one of those riffs, and then I'll record myself playing another and maybe a different guitar over the top, just to have a nice sort of counter melody or whatever. And then just sticking them on YouTube Shorts or TikTok or whatever, and just which ones get some kind of traction. And then once they've got some traction, then I might produce them and then go from there. Just one of the ideas that I'm playing with, to get them from being on my phone as a voice note to something a bit more tangible that people can hear. That I wouldn't let anyone listen to the stuff on my phone because it's so bad quality.
Yeah. It's just a notepad, yeah.
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 Because I've got no way of remembering all that stuff.
Yeah.
If I can just make it so that it's a nice bite-sized chunk and to gauge reaction and then go, okay, well, I'll do that one next.
I think that what you're describing is a situation that most songwriters, singer-songwriters, in some kind of variation of what you've just described, they find themselves in that. They've got a body of work. They want to get it recorded or arranged and, get musicians. So I don't think it's unusual. I think it's, it's just kind of one of these things that you have to figure, one has to figure one's way through it.
Yes.
Yeah. And, this, okay, so the other day we were playing, and you left, you had to get up early, blah, 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 you had some things to do. I ended up staying there until maybe 1 or 2 in the morning.
Wow.
And a couple of other musicians turned up. I would say that I was the youngest musician there by far.
Wow.
I mean, the people in their 80s.
Yeah.
A couple of these guys were like in their late 70s, 80s. They're phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal players.
Yeah.
So, and I really admire and respect that. You're talking about younger generation, of course, there's always going to be a younger generation. However, I think there's a totally kind of like overlooked, I don't know what you would call it. It's not genre. That's not really the word that I'm looking for. But it's an unappreciated strand of music. Like people that played for years who really know how to play and are just comfortable with it. There was a Peruvian drummer. I think he was Peruvian, and a Peruvian trumpet player turned up, and they could just play. This drummer was just rock solid and played totally in tempo, wasn't playing loud, really, really felt what was going on, was communicating with everyone. It was just a joy. It was just a real joy to do it. So yeah, I think there definitely is like this unappreciated strand of musicians, which is fair enough. It's always going to be the younger generation that is hungry and that the music industry is focused on. The younger generation just don't know that they're being vastly manipulated by these big companies.
Yeah.
They just want product. That's really what it is. I don't really want to get too far into that. I don't want to rant about it.
Yeah.
Like there's so much on the internet about this that if people really, really want to find out the level of corruption that there is in record companies, or has been, let's say, in the past. There's so much written about it. There's some great books.
Yeah.
There's some books written by lawyers who were responsible for cases against people. There's one really famous case that I'm aware of, but against Hazel O'Connor. Do you remember Hazel O'Connor? No. Hazel O'Connor was the first female artist to appear on Top of the Pops in a bikini top. She was wearing a bra, basically. And which at the time, I don't know, it must have been, okay. Hang on, I better just deal with that. Did you see? You can see it.
Yeah.
It says emergency. Okay, so let's just turn that off before it explodes. Okay. One of the cameras was having a breakdown. Yeah, I'm just trying to think when it would have been. It would have been the late 70s or early 80s. I think late 70s. And so for a woman to be on Top of the Pops, like on television in a bra, that was, unbelievable. Shocking. It was just something that you never thought that would have happened. And she had some big hits. And she had one big hit which was called Will You? And it had a saxophone solo on it. And I'm going to cut a very, 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 very long story short. The short version of this, and then I'm going to have a drink because I'm getting a little bit croaky. The short version is that song made millions of pounds, millions and millions worldwide. Hazel didn't make a penny from it until maybe 20 or 25 years later, because she got completely conned by the record company and the publishing company, who kept on, essentially, their mechanism was they created companies that owned the copyright for that song, and they kept on bankrupting the company. They kept on forming another limited company, bankrupting that one, forming another limited company, just passing it on, keeping all of the money. And she never got a penny from it. And also, there was another strand to this, that she the saxophone player. One of the memorable moments of that song is the sax solo, and the saxophone player claimed after the event, after the song had been recorded and released and become successful, that he should have been credited as a writer of the song and should have got part of the royalties. And eventually it went to court, and I think it was a lawyer called Alexis Grower, and it's all written up. There's books about these cases, and you can just see how corrupt the music industry was. It was unbelievable. I think she signed her record deal when she was working as a temporary receptionist in a record company when she was 16 years old, and they held her to a contract. She didn't get any kind of legal advice at all. And again, I think it's quite well documented. But it was unbelievably corrupt.
Have you heard the conspiracy about gangster rap and the invention of gangster rap?
No, but is it something to do with this film Straight Out of Compton?
No.
And
well, not that I'm aware of.
NWA, these niggers with attitude. I'm not allowed to say that word, am I? But it's in the name of the band.
It was essentially because the same people that own the record companies own the prisons.
Yeah.
And that the gangster rap was going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
To promote the corruption of the black youth and, gang culture.
Yeah.
To fill up the prison.
Yeah. Okay.
So that, and I've heard that quite a few different places. Like, it doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
Because rap really did turn around, and it was, and I was like, why? Where's this come from? Why is this? Because you had like Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and all that kind of stuff, and and even in like the early 90s, it was kind of alright. It wasn't talking about hoes and blunts and guns and it did change in a very unnatural way, it felt to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a conspiracy if you want to look into it.
I think the short version of this, like in a sentence, is the music industry is corrupt, and it has always been corrupt and probably always will be. And anyone who goes into it thinking otherwise is not that wise. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't be successful within it without. You don't have to be corrupt to be successful. I'm not trying to say that everyone who's involved in it is, but just generally speaking.
So from a personal perspective, it was a sticking point for me, because I was thinking, I don't want to put all my stuff on Spotify and all that, so that I'm just giving my power away kind of thing. And it was a sticking point, and I was holding myself back. Yeah. And in the end, I just thought, well, I'm just going to make my videos, and I'll probably will, at some point, use DistroKid or some other distribution that puts you on all those streaming services, just so that it's there. And then, because you're not tied in, are you? You can take it off at any time. So I just I'll do it. But I'm going into it not thinking about money in any way, shape or form. It's just to do it. Yeah. And then see where it leads.
I am not sponsored by these people, and I'm not, I'm not getting paid for saying this, but I looked at all of these, and the one that I found was actually an English company called Horus Music, and for me, they got the best deal.
Okay.
Absolutely, out of all of the ones that I've seen, and also the usability of their service is much better than Horus Music.
HORUS.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So is it a CD Baby, DistroKid type thing?
It's an aggregator.
Yeah.
They're aggregators, yeah. They're kind of like middlemen in between you and Spotify and Apple Music or whatever. But they do much more than that. That's not all they do. They do other things. But no, I think it always comes back to how one measures success? You know, like what is your measurement for success, and also what your aspirations are. You know, like whether you want to be I don't know, the next big thing. You know, like you said about the pop industry, or whether your aspirations are something completely different than what it is you want to achieve. So that's really what I was trying to find out. What you know, as a songwriter, what are you writing about? What's your kind of like focus, or is it it changes? I would imagine over time. But is there something in particular that you're interested in at the moment?
It's a good question. Really good question. I don't have tons of lyrics flowing out of me at the moment.
Yeah.
One of the songs I did recently was something that I wrote when I was like 20, but it covers things like, which I didn't even understand at the time, but like being outside of time and being able to leave your body and travel, which I wasn't like remotely spiritual. Well, I was a little bit dipping my toe. And then it became a lot more relevant. I think I mentioned that in the last interview, but The Best Is Yet to Come was a little bit political. Breathe was kind of a metaphor, because the chorus is, give me a smile, let me see who you are, show your face, you're a shining star, but you're hiding in the shadows. Take off your mask. It's not you, it's not how you were born or designed to be, to step out of the shadows and breathe with me. So it was a commentary on the whole mask situation, which was going, but I knew that it would also be metaphoric. You know, people hiding behind a mask is a metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was commentary on what was happening at the time with regards to the mask, and a certain small community of people heard it, and it resonated with a big percentage of those people that heard it, because it was relevant. I don't think all my stuff's going to be political commentary. Like Dragonfly was just about this beautiful dragonfly flying around.
Yeah.
And so some of the newer ones that I'm in the production process, like Blessed Be, that Christina actually wrote, my wife, she wrote the lyrics for it, she channeled them, and some other stuff, and then gave them to me, and I sort of tuned the lyrics. And yeah, so I'm not pouring, lyrics aren't pouring out of me at the moment. But if I sit down with the task at hand of, I need to write some lyrics for this thing.
Yeah.
Because I've got all these ideas, I need to pick one and then go, oh, that's good for a song. And you know, I know there's a few that are ready to be songs. And I don't know what the lyrics are going to be. But I will try to, if I can convey my optimism, because a lot of people think the world's going to shit right now. And I don't. I'm kind of optimistic. I'm very optimistic. It's like a painful labour process, I'd say, we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know specifically if that's what I'm just going to end up being, like a singer-songwriter type, or maybe more longevity. I don't know. I'd like the idea to do some kind of film score stuff at some point in the future, but I know that's like another skill set that I haven't yet tried out. I think my theory is good enough to get there. It's just a case of like, what's the workflow? How do you start scoring strings and stuff like that? But I can imagine getting really, really lost and having loads of fun doing that.
Do you have any plans to do any shows, to play live? Because you've done a lot of live playing, from what I can make out.
Yeah, okay, so I did have a couple of lead guitar gigs in theatre shows in the UK at some point. One of the reasons I kept the gigs was because I wasn't loud. As a guitarist, I wouldn't turn up loads, and I got lots of comments like, oh, you don't try and steal the stage with your ramp. No need.
Yeah.
And I was in a few Beatles tributes. I think I mentioned that before. So I've done a lot of soul-destroying solo gigs in hotels and stuff. I had a...
Why were they soul destroyed?
Well, some were really good, but some were not.
Yeah.
I had kids at home, and I'd miss bedtime, and I'd be driving home from Marbella or whatever at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And you pack all your gear into the car on your own, drive home on your own,
Yeah.
maybe grab a McDonald's on my own in the middle of the night. It was just a bit sad.
And how many people did you play to? What was your smallest audience?
There was normally at least about 4 people. At least.
Okay,
There was
I'm
never
with you.
there was
Soul
never
destroyer.
none. There was never none, but and sometimes they would have a good time.
I think the thing is that if you talk to any musician who's done anything like this has been through that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's good character building.
Yeah.
And it was good singing practice.
Yeah.
Definitely good singing practice. Singing Beatles songs like 3-4 times a week.
Yeah.
It's good. I won't.
Was it in hotels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hotels or like if they had at the hotel, I had like an outside restaurant bit sometimes, and it, I was wearing a suit in Spain in summer, so I had this fan on the floor pointing up at me. I was growing my hair out as well.
Yeah. There's an amazing film about that. I think it's called The Fabulous Baker Brothers, and it's got Jeff Bridges and Beau Bridges in it, who are brothers. And it's it's fantastic. Anyone who wants to see the soul-destroying side of being a musician playing in hotels should watch that film. It's really good. Excuse me.
I really do enjoy playing with a good band because I had a wedding band as well.
Yeah.
And that was nice because you can actually make some all right money.
Right.
If you can stick it out for the night and do like a DJ thing at night or put on a bit of a disco thing.
Yeah.
No, you can do all right. But that sort of fizzled away. And COVID kind of put a stop to all weddings for a little while. I do like having a really good band. I do like having a really good. That's fun. That's fun.
Very difficult to maintain. Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I don't want to just rehearse for no reason. And I haven't really got enough of it. Well, I could put together a repertoire and say, right, okay, I want to have a band, but then I wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know what to do with it. What do I try out and start booking pub gigs? And then everyone gets like €50 each.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
So I think I'm all about just put it out there, grow a community. Because if like this 1,000 true fans thing, I resonate. That resonates with me. Just to kind of just keep plugging away, put music out, put short videos out, and see what happens.
Yeah.
And
I mean, me personally. Okay, I think that there's lots of different ways that people can have a music career. Yeah, there's lots of different ways. But one of the main ways that is new is something that is literally, I would say, 1 or 2 years old, and it might not even exist in another 1 or 2 years. It could just be a very, very, very short window. Because things are changing all the time, changing so rapidly. But it's just this idea of having subscribers who subscribe to you and pay very small amounts of money. It could be €5 or €20 a month for everything that you're creating because they like what you're doing. They support what you're doing. So the key difference is that the music industry was based upon you creating a product, a single or an album, and then promoting that product and trying to sell units or get downloads or streams. Isn't that, everything's based on streaming now. It's just a kind of like never-ending, like, what do you call it? Like hamster wheel. Just have to keep on going and going and going. But the new model is that you give everything that you do, more or less everything that you do, you give it away free. You put it online for free, with the idea that, but have some kind of setup. Like there's many of them. There's the one that everybody knows is Patreon. Okay, where you start to build up a following of subscribers who essentially pay for everything that you're doing. Like your next video, your next recording, or the next show that you're going to do, or the next thing that you're going to do. But everything you do, you give away free. I really, really like that idea. It's and like I say, I don't know how long it will last. But for me, it's a much more healthy model than signing to a record company and trying to compete. I mean, I'm not talking about me. I would never be able to do that now. Like I'm far too long in the tooth and have no wish to do it. But I'm talking about younger people. Yeah, and this is what I've been watching. I've been watching younger people in their like 20s and 30s. We talked about one of them the other day, Elise True. She's a very, very, very good example of someone, as far as I know, she doesn't have a record company behind her. She's completely independent. Absolutely phenomenal young musician. And you can see pretty much everything that she does is, you can see it free online. And she's got subscribers, paying subscribers. Another one is Mary Spender.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing about Mary Spender, I have to be very, very, very careful how I say this. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I think she's a phenomenal musician. She's an incredible filmmaker. She's really, really good at making films. She's very, very eloquent, very, very charming person. She writes technically very, very good songs. I just don't like her songs. There's not one song of hers that I've heard that I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like hits me. I can see everything that she does is technically brilliant. She plays guitar beautifully. She sings beautifully.
Yeah.
But me personally, I just don't like her songs. And I know that other people do, so I'm not trying to diss her and say she's a bad songwriter. But I think she's a really, really, really good example of someone who's using that model where she's essentially doing everything. She's, like the editor, the producer, the musician, the writer. She's doing everything. And it's more or less, I think it's changing for her now because it looks like she's getting a lot of offers from other companies to back her. But up to a certain point, the only funding she had was from her subscribers. She did it all from subscriptions. Yeah.
I watched one of her videos yesterday, funny enough. And she was using the iPad Pro. Yeah. Logic on the iPad Pro. Yeah. And she showed little clips from her, I don't know what year it was. Was it even like 98 or something? Yeah. And a clip of her every year. Yeah. Until now. And it was like, she's really been putting in the work. Yeah. Like, and that's, I get the little twinge of, oh, you haven't been doing that though, have you, Lewis? Like that twinge is like, oh, you should have been doing more. And it stings a bit. So, but I'm not letting that stop me. Yeah. This
brings us back to practice routine. Why aren't you practicing more? No, I'm laughing because we played the other day and you're really good. You are really good. So for someone who doesn't practice, then that's.
Well, it's very kind of you to say. Yeah. I was almost a little bit nervous. I was thinking like, I hope I can hold my own in this thing. And I didn't know what to expect of the jam, the improv, but and I don't even know if my style of playing would go down really well with that. It was a bit jazz, wasn't it? It was.
It can vary.
Yeah.
It varies. It can vary from, like every 15 minutes. I would say that I'm like a soul, like a soul or funk rhythm guitarist. I can do that, that kind of thing in my sleep, and more of a bluesy player than like a folk player or a jazz player.
Yeah.
So I'm totally lost when they start playing this kind of jazz stuff. I can just kind of like pretend I know what I'm doing and like just busk it. I think what it comes down to is some of the players, like you can really see that, on their faces that they're pissed off if people can't keep up with what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to say this. I can't say it politely. I just think, fuck you. When I see someone do that, I just think, these players, they've all got a right to be here and play.
Yeah.
And if there's someone is being a bit dismissive because someone's struggling, I just think, well, how are they ever going to improve if they don't kind of like dive in the deep end and try. So I don't really have a lot of time. I've got time for the encouraging musicians who come up to you afterwards and say, listen, when you were doing this, if you'd done that, or if you thought of it in this way, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. I much prefer that than the kind of like kind of like superstar dismissive, I'm out of your league, you're way below my league kind of players. It doesn't happen that often. There's a few people that are like that. No, the guys that were down there the other day, they were just so good and so nice. Yeah, they really. I mean, I don't want to get too gushy about it. Some of them are, if people look them up on the internet, they would find them. They would find them as players that are well known, especially in England, but not only England, since the late 60s. So they're not just like bedroom guitarists. They're people that are really, really, really well known. I'm not going to say who they are at the moment. We'll say that for another day. But so they're good.
Yeah,
they're really, really good, and they're nice people. Yeah.
So I'd like to get into that level. That would be nice. Where I mean, session musicians, they play and play and play and play, and there's no age limit for them. I remember, do you remember James Morrison? Not Jim Morrison, but James Morrison.
Yeah.
I went to see him in Cologne in Germany, and his band was just a bunch of session guys.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and they were easily 50s, 60s, like age. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, okay, they've just given him a bunch of session guys, and it was brilliant. Like the musicianship was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like it was his band. It wasn't like, because he was 20 or something like that at the time. But yeah, it's exciting to be on this road and to not know where it's going. But I do feel a little bit rusty.
Yeah.
But that's why I've started to do just put the phone in front of my computer, load up a backing track, and just jam along on the acoustic. And I recorded it and I put it on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. And the sound quality is terrible, so I've got to work on that. So I've been working in my fitness video. Now how to edit my fitness videos. Now I need to figure out how to edit my music videos.
You've got to plug that. Where can people see them?
Well, it's just Louis Hanshaw.
Yeah.
Or Louis Hanshaw, however you want to say it. On all of the socials. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. No, Twitter's different because
I have to say it was really funny because you told me about it, and then the next day I was looking at my phone in the morning and it popped up in front of me. I told you, I was like, "Are you following me?" Because it literally just popped up. Yeah. It was really, really good. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's me keeping myself accountable with my fitness.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my things on my vision board: is be fit and strong,
Yeah.
And it's a good time to just hit 40.
But I like practicing, so I find it. It's not a chore for me. It's more. It's difficult to find the time, and that's definitely true.
Yeah.
But I feel robbed if I haven't had time in a week to, during a week to put some hours in practicing, and I've constantly got things that I don't understand, and I'm trying to understand. How these things fit together and why they work and why they don't work, and then somehow trying to translate that into my playing, because sometimes things that I learn, okay, it's like, okay, now I understand it, but how am I going to use it? Or can I use it? Or and I think quite a lot of this stuff just like permeates gradually. That's what I think. Yeah, we were talking about it. I can't remember actually what we're talking about, but we're talking about what was it? Diminished chords, and where they fit in the harmony of things. Okay, honestly, probably in the 1 or 2 years that I've been since COVID. I hate using COVID as a marker, but it's just so people understand. There wasn't any way to play live during COVID. You couldn't go out and like you could just maybe you could sneak a friend into your house and like you play together, but there wasn't really any way to play live. So for quite a long time that was just completely not a thing. It wasn't. You weren't able to do it. So it's only in the last 1.5 or 2 years that been able to go out and play live again. Yeah. So during that one or 2 years, I can honestly say that I've heard someone play a diminished chord in a song or, in a jam session maybe once or twice. People just don't use. They have a very, 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 very narrow music vocabulary. Yeah.
1, 4, 5 minus 6.
Yeah, exactly. So, just, I love knowing how to do all of this kind of thing. And I used a little bit of it the other day. I mean, just like putting a diminished chord into a progression. But normally you don't hear people doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's my bag as well. I like that. I do like that.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting with 2 5s into the next chord. So if I'm going into a 4, what's the 2 5 of that chord?
Yeah.
And you can really open up your chord progressions from just the basic diatonic stuff to you sort of put these little modulations throughout, and it's really cool. But even it's been a long journey for me to get to that point. And I used to really geek out on the theory stuff, not to like jazz levels, but so like modes of the melodic. Is it the melodic? What's the one with the sharp 7 and the melodic minor with the
It could be quite a few. It could be quite a few. But I know what you're talking about.
Because that's got the a big jump between the minor 6 and the major 7. So that all the modes of that scale are like really interesting. But I don't experiment with that stuff.
No,
that's the like next level.
Yeah.
But I think it's handy with songwriting to have that in your kit bag.
I'll show you one. I'm not even going to try and do it now, but I'll show you one later on, or I'll send you a link to it. But it's more or less, it's one of the main things that they use in flamenco, and it's incredible from a Western diatonic perspective. It's really, really, really interesting, fantastic flavors. But I'll show it to you later on.
Cool.
Yeah. I think, I just wanted, this has gone on much longer than I thought. It's like an hour. I was expecting to do like 10 minutes. We've got to be stricter about this stuff. I was expecting, I was hoping to do like a 10-minute introduction to Louis Hanshaw as a musician, which is totally fine. But is there anything else that you want to say about your music before we wrap this part of it up? Is there any links or anything that you want people to look out for? Or
I'm gonna finish working on the website. There is a site up. It's louishanshaw.com. And the YouTube channel that I'm putting everything on. So this is me and my wife. We're putting all our sort of spiritual awakening stuff, my music, her poems, conscious parenting, that kind of stuff. That's all going on Ascension Dimension, and it's Ascension Dimension with Louis Hanshaw, so you can find it. If you just put my name in, which is LouisHanshaw, and I'm the only person with that name, so I just come up straight away.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move directly along.
Yes.
So we had a conversation, and the idea was that we would get together maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks or once every 2 months, depending on what you're doing, depending on what I'm doing, and just pick a topic and talk about that topic, and call this little segment, or whatever you want to call it, we were going to call it What's Going On. So, like the idea of there's so many things going on, what's going on with this particular thing?
Yes.
And that was a terrible introduction, but it more or less covers what the idea of this is. So the topic is AI. If possible, I'd like to say in particular AI in like art and music.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't want to limit it, okay? It has to be said that I'm not an AI expert. I'm not an AI scientist. I'm very interested in it. As far as I know, you're not an AI scientist or an AI professional. We've got a mutual friend who I won't name until he wants to be named. Maybe one day he'll want to be named, but we've got a mutual friend who is, I think he's one of the most amazing people that I know, actually, and he just blows my mind when it comes. It's like how to explain this. If I got interested in solar panels, my interest in solar panels would probably be me going online, finding a company that installed solar panels, phoning them up and saying, can you give me a quote and when can you come and do it? Our friend's take on a subject like that is he becomes an absolute expert on it, to the point where he builds his own system from things that he's bought from eBay or Amazon or, I don't know, what's the Alibaba or whatever, yeah. And make something that you'd never ever be able to get from a solar power specialist, something much, much more, what's the word? Versatile, much more powerful, much, just incredible. So incredible guy.
And cheaper.
And cheaper, yeah. So, and he doesn't want to do it as a business. It's just something that he did. And he's done it with quite a few other topics that I could mention, and one of them is AI. I don't know if he's going to be cross with me, but we haven't said his name. But he's currently converting all of his GPU machines, which he was using for mining, to host open source AI that he's downloaded and started to rewrite the code for. So I just want to say, I have no idea what that even means.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not trying to pretend that I know what that means, but I know that's what he's doing. Because we asked him to come today and he said he can't because that's what he's doing. So I'm out of my depth on this topic, but I think it's something that is going to impact everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's two approaches with the topic, or there's like the immediate work efficiency sort of tools that are emerging now that have been around for a little while, not very long, but in the public space anyway. There's many tools that I'll cover some of them, and then there's also this overarching, like, the ethical discussion element to it, and I think a lot of people get into that and are like, it's it's the end of humanity, or we've got to really be careful. So there's the ethical side and there's the productivity side,
Yeah.
which I think are two. You could look at it as all these productivity tools are kind of like candy. Is it just leading us down the path to then eventually become the singularity? I don't think so. But there's some really, really amazing stuff. So from an audio perspective, the tool that I saw last night, so you've got a really lively room and you're recording a podcast and someone's a bit far away. So you're getting a lot of room sound and not a very crisp vocal recording. Adobe, have you seen it? Adobe Podcast. It's podcast.adobe.com. They've got a tool. I don't know how much it costs, but it's called Enhance, and it will remove the room sound. It's incredible.
So was it a plug-in or is it an app?
It's running on their website at the moment.
Okay.
And you upload your file and it analyzes it. So it's really good for if you've got fans whirring.
Well, can I just interrupt just for a second?
Yeah.
For musicians who know this a little bit more about this topic, so I think that people who don't know about this topic about digital recording, this is something they wouldn't be aware of. But musicians that are using DAWs, so digital audio workstations, you can get plugins, you can get small software applications that can be opened inside your DAW, inside your digital audio workstation that do tasks for you, like musical tasks or recording tasks. As far as I know, there are companies that have been making AI enhanced plugins for at least 2 years. I can remember seeing the first ones maybe 2 years ago. And so one of the tools, like if you think of a Swiss Army knife for an audio engineer, one of the tools that an audio engineer would use is compression. Compression is making the level of the audio that you're recording compressed into a particular range. So either not too quiet or not too loud. It takes the loud things down and the quiet things, it maybe brings them up. And this was all done manually before. There have been plugins that do compression using AI for at least 2 years, as far as I know. So that doesn't surprise me. Mm-hmm. The kind of like, how to say it, the workflow assistance that you can get from AI, that doesn't surprise me. Sorry to interrupt you on that, but
that really interests me because it's that, I was saying earlier on about that grunt work.
Yeah.
When you've got a bunch of unmixed tracks that need, at least getting rid of the muddy, boxy frequencies. Like, have you got an AI that analyzes that? And how does it know? Oh, that's a bit honky. How does it know that's a bit boxy? That lower mid mud.
Yeah. How does it do it?
Yeah.
But Louis, I mean, let me put it like this, okay? I think what's piqued my interest about AI is that, like, everybody has got access to AI and they probably didn't realise it. Like Siri, for example, like on iPhones, is more or less a digital assistant that will do this for you and do that for you. What's the other one? The one for
Alexa.
Alexa, yeah. So these tools have been around and people are using them. Do your to-do list, your shopping list, turn your lights on and off, or your water heater or whatever. That stuff doesn't surprise me at all. Like automating tasks that people do. I think that there are people that are worried about that because they're worried that their jobs are going to be taken from them. So I'm not trying to belittle it and say it's not a thing. I think really what interests me more is AI starting to take decisions that normally humans would take, or creating things that from scratch. That's the thing that really fascinates me.
Yeah, I had a little think about this because there's YouTube videos. I asked ChatGPT to design me a song, to write me a song,
Yeah,
and to write me a chord progression.
yeah. Is it your next single?
No,
No.
it's not.
Would you put ChatGPT's name to it? If it was, would you admit that it wasn't you that wrote it?
Yeah, because I'd probably be doing it for YouTube clicks, just to I wrote a song with ChatGPT. No, so there's a lot out there.
Is it a better lyricist than you?
I'm very humble. Of course, apparently some of the lyrics it comes out with, because it's
They are good.
Yeah.
I tried it as well. They are good. Yeah. And really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people have used ChatGPT to come up with rap lyrics in the style of a given rapper.
Yeah.
And then they've used another tool which is another AI, which takes those lyrics and then raps them.
Is that Drake you're talking about?
There was one that did the Drake. Yeah. So there's a lot of...
Apparently the Drake fake, the fake Drake, the deep fake Drake AI version is really, really, really good. I haven't listened to it. I have to admit, I haven't listened to it, but I've watched commentators who know about that stuff, because I wouldn't know fake Drake from real Drake, but they've said it's really good. So
who's going to listen to it? Who's going to want to? See, this is where we get into the interesting, the ethical side, or the more interesting elements of AI and who listens to music and why would they want to listen to music. And I think we talk about community and creating community and your true fans. Well, they're interested in not just the soul music. They're interested in the story. Who's written it?
Yeah.
They might be interested in your short form videos if you're doing workouts, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or your dietary choices.
Yeah.
Like the who's behind the music.
Yeah. That's an incredibly interesting topic. I mean, I think that there's a Netflix or there's a series about fans. I can't remember what it's called. It might come to me in a minute. It's something that came out recently, but it's about this whole topic of how fans follow what creators, musicians, artists, whatever, what they do, and they even feel like they have some kind of like ownership on the decisions that artist should make in their life. And there's a kind of like a dysfunctional dystopian series about fans that on Netflix. It will come to me what it's called in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I've lost the flow.
Well, where I was going with it is that, okay, so just because an AI can make music doesn't mean that, okay, there's probably, if it's like a real hit and it's like, and it copies all the elements of like some of the hit dance tracks, and it's just not a carbon copy, but it's like a very good floor filler.
Yeah.
That's going to have its appeal. And if it can just churn them out, and a record company, whoever's done it is going to make some money out of it, that's fine. But there's always going to be the huge swathes of the population that are interested in, well, who's behind it, who is the artist.
Yeah. There was something really interesting about this. I mean, I think people will know who this is, but there's a musician from America called Rick Beato. Yeah, he's a producer and a songwriter and a really, really amazing musician. Especially, he's a very, very good guitarist, and he puts up very, very interesting stuff on YouTube. And he did some analysis about this exact thing that you're talking about now, and I can't remember the names because I don't know who these people are. So I'm not even going to try and pretend that I know who these people are. But there are people that are getting billions and billions of plays now, or streams, I should say, on Spotify. Okay. And Rick Beato did some very, very, very clever analysis of the data that you're able to get from Spotify, that's openly available from Spotify. And where I'm going with this is that the first thing to keep in mind is that these AI deepfake tracks are a thing that's only been around for a month or two, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that's quite accurate. There's one which is AISIS, which is basically Oasis with Liam singing, but it's AI, and some real musicians playing in the style of Oasis, and it's new songs that sound like Oasis, but it's called AISIS. I think they've only been around for a month or two. Okay. Things like this, they're not getting billions and billions of plays or streams, but they're getting millions, and they're up there already on a level, the same level as the Beatles. So, okay, the Beatles, for those who don't know who the Beatles are, they started in like 1961 or 1960, were incredibly one of the biggest bands ever, and people are still interested in them. People still stream their music now, okay, even though and they get, I think there's like, in the chart, they were something like 120 or maybe it was 220, like in terms of the amount of streams. This new AI stuff was up at the same level as the Beatles after 2 months. So their material has been on Spotify since Spotify was created, since the first days that Spotify was created. But in terms of streams, after 2 months, the AI stuff is up at the same level as the Beatles. So watch this space is what I'm saying.
Wow. Well, in terms of total plays, ever?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, that's incredible.
It's a very hot topic right now.
Yeah.
And if there's references to that in some kind of tech blog, there'll be a lot of people talking. Because there's not many of them, so all that traffic of interest is going to point to that.
Yeah.
And if it becomes a thing and lots of people start doing it, then
not if it is a thing. It is a thing.
That lots of people are doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, I have to go do my disclaimer again. I'm not an AI expert. It's just something that I'm really interested in. And I think from what I can see, there's a movement. I don't know if that's the right word, but in my day, we'd call them scenes. Yeah. And it was a little bit more easy to understand what a scene was. Like there'd be, for example, when I was a teenager, there was the punk scene. And that punk scene, more or less, it came out of South London and Croydon and a few other places in that area of south of England, and you could pinpoint exactly where those bands were, and then it became global. But to start off with, it was just a very, very, very small group of people working in a particular geographic area, and it became a style of music. From what I can see, if you go on the internet, there are AI musicians all over the world now, like every geographic location that you could possibly think of, creating music using AI technology somehow. Like whether it's completely music that is being completely generated by a program, or whether it's humans using it as a creative tool. So, for example, the AISIS is a really, really good idea. A good example of a project where humans are using it as a tool. As far as I know, the band is 3 humans, not AI. They're real humans playing real instruments, but the vocalist is AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to have something that could say, all right, I need a string
Do the
part.
grunt work, produce my song for me.
There's that, yeah. But also in the creative stages to say, rather than me going through 5 different strings plugins to try and find one that kind of sounds a bit like strings, or having to blend a couple of plugins.
Press the arrange strings button.
Yeah. That would be nice. So I need some strings here. Like, what can we come up with? Oh, sure. Here's 10 different variations.
So what you want is like data from Star Trek. Like cyborg assistant who you say can make that happen. Yeah.
So that you've still got the creative control over it, but rather than having to dig through all the plugins and tweak all the sounds so it sounds real.
Yeah.
I want some really good, real sounding strings that's going to work with the reverb that's already in the track.
Yeah. But let's take a step backwards. Okay. Why do you say that you're a very positive person? That's how I experience you, a very, very positive person. Why do you think that there's nothing really to worry about with AI? Not in music or in art, but just generally.
Because I think... Okay.
But I tell you what, and I told you about this beforehand, so I'm not springing this on you. Very, very, very quick. As far as I know, like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, thousands of AI scientists signed a document, an open letter, saying that they wanted a 6-month pause on training any AI system that was more powerful than ChatGPT-4, because they were concerned about the existential consequences of AI. And this was signed by people like Elon Musk and Sam Altman and many, many others. I'm sorry, I'm sniffing a bit. I just want to blow my nose. There's a huge amount of pollen today, and it makes me suffer a bit. So, excuse me. This open letter was pages and pages and pages. And to give you some idea, one of the founding scientists of the AI movement refused to sign it because he said that it didn't go far enough. He said that he thought that the way that, as far as he was concerned, I don't think that I can't remember exactly how you wrote this. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but I think it's pretty accurate. My paraphrasing is pretty accurate. But he said the way that AI is being developed at the moment, if we carry on that trajectory, then more or less that means that human beings will be extinct sometime very soon in the future. It was that strong, what he put. Now, literally last week, I think it was last week, a similar group of people, remember this open letter was pages and pages and pages, a similar group of people have put out this 22-word statement on AI risk. It's 22 words, so I can read it really quick. It's on our screen. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other social scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. That was signed by Sam Altman, who's the guy who owns the company that is developing ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a technology
Yeah.
which has overarching power and reach into everything that's connected.
Yeah.
So, as with any technology, it's who's using it, who's got the finger on the button.
How do you control that? I mean, that's part of what they're saying is that the genie's out of the bottle. I mean, our friend at the moment if I understood this, because I'm not an AI scientist, but if I understood this, he's gone to some open source platform, downloaded an active AI program remotely onto his system, so it's not connected to the internet anymore. No one knows. I mean, there's no one that can see what he's doing with that, and he's rewritten the program. So how do you control that?
Well, presumably there's some kind of parameters.
He's a nice guy, by the way. He's not a psychopath, so don't worry.
I think that
Excuse me.
From my basic understanding, I would assume that there's some kind of parameters that are like hard. Like so.
I don't know.
So Chat GPT, for example, you ask it questions, and it will give you its political bias because it's trained to only give you responses.
But they took that out, didn't they? That very early on, a lot of people complained about that.
Like, can a man have a baby? Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's that one.
Yeah.
And it will say yeah, which I personally disagree with.
Yeah. I've seen men that look pregnant, but that's another thing.
It's another thing. So that's one example of confines and constraints.
Yeah.
So they are programmed. So if you write a constrain it to say, don't blow up the planet or don't try and eradicate humans from the planet.
What about if they put don't destroy the planet unless?
Yeah, so it's if there's holes in the logic, then it can be exploited. But I just think if it's very, very carefully done, it can be a huge assistance to humanity.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
To be able to eradicate like the combination of robotics and AI can really eradicate many of the laborious, repetitive tasks.
So if we look at Hollywood, and I use Hollywood broadly to mean, like feature films, and they're not only made by Hollywood. So, if we look at like feature film culture, there's plenty of markers in feature film culture about AI and all of its derivatives. So like cyborgs and robots and whatever. The vast majority of it that is portrayed in feature film culture is malevolent. It's not all malevolent. I mean, like R2D2, he's AI. He's a robot that is intelligent. Yeah, in Star Wars, for example, R2D2, as far as I know, is not a malevolent character. Yeah, he's quite a nice little chap. Everyone likes him. Yeah, but Skynet, and the whole Rise of the Machines, Terminator series of films, that's more or less what these guys are talking about. That was AI that got out of control and decided that humans were the problem and that they needed to be eradicated. Yeah, that's the So it's not a new idea. I mean, when was the first Terminator film? Like 1984, 1982. Yeah.
So
people have been thinking about this for a long time.
So I'm going to go a little bit tinfoily now because
Go for it. I don't know what that means. I say, where does this idea of tinfoil come from? Is it tinfoil hats?
Tinfoil hats
To stop radiation or something like that?
It would, or to stop your mind being red or something. But
would that work? That's like the woman that put her poodle in the microwave to dry it when they first came out. Yeah, it's not going to work. It wouldn't have worked if you put the poodle in tinfoil.
No, it's always been seen to mock the free thinking. Anyway,
Yeah.
Who's putting out? Right, it's the globalist satanic cabal
Okay.
which run Hollywood. So most of the things that come out have got the agenda, whatever agenda it is, whether it's pushing the trans stuff, whether it's getting us ready, the predictive programming, getting ready for all the pathogen, all the pandemic type stuff, all the things that they want us to believe as a collective consciousness. So things like Titanic. Apparently, that wasn't really the Titanic that sunk. It was a different ship, and there was a load of elite bankers that were on, like, things that meant that the Federal Reserve came into existence because the Titanic sank, and the people that were against it were on the boat that sank. You know, so there's Hollywood is like evil big time, and they want that singularity AI. Dystopian future where it's controlling us as opposed to helping us. Like the tools that are emerging now, there's no films about that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So there's like things like Minority Report, as you can see, where there's some cool tech before it gets weird. So if those people that are running Hollywood and many other nefarious kind of industries around the world, if they're in charge of it, then yeah, it's bad news. Simple as that. Because it does have the power to completely enslave every aspect of our lives. You know, have you had your latest vaccination? Well, you can't do this. And that's all very seamlessly done. And just like, oh, you can't pay for your food now because we're going to shut off your bank and whatever. And it's like, it's easy to go there in your mind. But I don't think that's where we're going. I really don't. And optically, it doesn't look like we're in a very good place right now because I think there's a lot of arrests being made. Again, this is all covert stuff and not many people are following it to the level I have been. But I don't think the lunatics are running the asylum anymore. And I'm very optimistic for the outlook and as to where we're headed. So I don't dwell on it. Plus, I don't want to manifest it. I'm not going to add my co-creative manifestation powers to that end result. I'm much more utopian looking kind of guy because I see a lot of military movement. I've seen a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a technology and it has the potential to completely enslave every one of us or wipe out every one of us.
I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with that reference to utopia, and I'm not sure why I'm not comfortable with it. I mean,
Well, it's the opposite of dystopian.
yes, in that respect, then I agree with you. Yeah, then, but let's say it like this. This is off topic, I think. I mean, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's me that's taking it off topic, not you. But this word utopia for me is linked with philosophers and intellectuals who, for example, gave us communism. Communism was the idea of a utopia, you know, like everyone's equal and everyone should have the same. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. You know, like on paper, if it was a one-pager paper about your philosophical outlook on what you wanted for humanity, it sounds fantastic. Communism sounds fantastic. But in practice, it was hell on earth for millions and millions of people. And millions and millions of people died. So when I hear utopia, it's kind of like it's kind of like a trigger. It's an alarm. And I think it's something that people really need to look into. They need to find out about that kind of stuff for themselves.
Yeah. I'd just say that they've bastardized the word and co-opted it to mean something else.
Yeah.
Because utopia is basically heaven. Heaven on earth is what it's supposed to be, as far as I understand. And I think it was co-opted into some political other means, nefarious purposes.
Okay.
I remember looking at this when I was at school, and it has been hijacked is what I would say.
I'm
But
tempted to do a search because I think you'll find that Utopia is actually from an English author from the 17th century. I'm not going to say who, in case I'm totally wrong. But the first idea of utopia.
Define utopia.
Yeah. Or
An imagined state. Why do they have to put that? An imagined place or state of things in which everything is perfect.
well, I think it comes from Blake, personally. I think the first person, I could be totally wrong because I'm usually totally wrong about these things, but
So if you take away the imagined, because I don't know why it would put imagined. I don't think utopia is imagined. It's because they don't want us thinking that we can have it.
that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a place or state of things in which everything is perfect.
Okay.
I'm aiming for that rather than the dystopia, which is the opposite of where everything is perfect.
Yeah. I'm going to stop searching for that because
All right.
I've just got it in my head, somewhere in my memory banks, and I can't dredge it up right now, that Utopia comes from William Blake.
All right.
The
I
original
can
idea.
call it, I'm shooting for heaven on earth.
Okay.
I'm shooting for heaven on earth.
Yeah.
Because that hasn't quite been co-opted into some nefarious...
Yeah.
Unlike the rainbow.
Define heaven. Define heaven. What do you mean by heaven on earth?
Where we can all pursue our dreams without, dare I say, and sovereignty, without over-controlling nefarious government structures and trying to being poisoned at every which way from environmental, food supply chain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, medical systems that are in the business of just keeping us perpetually sick, rather than cures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So freedom from all of that, and the freedom to choose what we want to do with our lives and dedicate ourselves to that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I think we're getting to, and the AI that's helping to do the garbage collection and so we don't have industries that are designing things to break after 1 year. Because if we remove this element of the hamster wheel of going to work to pay the bills, to buy the stuff that keeps breaking, if we remove all of that, if AI is doing all the grunt work, the robotics, and they're taking the rubbish away, we can pursue things that we want to pursue, you know. And then then we have to have discussions about, well, what's money? Do we have universal basic income? Is that, because that can be very bad or very good, depending upon who's in charge of it and how it's done. But I think we're moving towards a better way of doing things.
Okay, so you think that AI could somehow play a part in that, in managing it?
Yeah.
So are you talking about AI taking decisions or creating possibilities, or how do you see that fitting into
okay,
it?
just for one example, you could have a city waste management AI that's in control of all the plumbing and the rubbish bins and so even like removal of out of date food from supermarkets, and where does that go? Or the recycling, and that could just be thousands and thousands of jobs that don't need to be done anymore because you've got an AI with robots that go and do everything really efficiently.
Yeah.
And that AI can just do that.
So who's going to pay the people that don't have jobs anymore?
Well, this is the thing. It's like, if all these things get eradicated, well,
because
why?
I think that the link that I'm seeing here is that this is one of the things that people are concerned about. They're concerned that AI is going to take jobs. That's one thing that's being talked about.
Okay, I think great, because I really don't think that this concept of you have to go to work every day to earn money to survive, I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
if there's things that need doing by humans, then we all need to chip in and do it. But if those things don't exist, then well, why can't we just do something else that's more fun? Yeah, we have to have the conversation about, well, what do we need money for?
Yeah.
Why can't everything be free? Just throwing it out there. If you've got an AI that's picking all the apples, why can't that fruit be free? Why can't that food be free? Why do we have to pay for it? If you've got robots that can, powered by solar, that can make everything, they can make our phones, they can make all our tech, and they needs no human interaction. Why can't it be free?
Okay, look. The way that I see this is, okay, I don't understand this way of thinking. I have to say that right from word go. Okay, I don't understand it. Not understanding it doesn't mean that I dismiss it. I would like to try and understand it, but I just see so many problems with it. And the thing is that I don't want to rain on your parade. I
just came up with it just now.
No,
Like,
I admire your optimism. Yeah, on these things. The thing about this is that I don't understand how that could work. I'm not sure that. Okay, it is definitely related to how AI could be used to beneficially as an assistant for humankind. Like to assist us to maneuver through different problem landscapes that we have, like refuse collection or water management or whatever it is. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. I don't know how that gets to that we all stop working, do whatever we want with our leisure time and get our apples for free. That just does not compute in my head. My experience of life, and I don't want to get too deep into philosophy and the tragedy of my life or whatever like this, but I don't think you can have you can't experience happiness without experiencing sadness. You have to have both. It's the same with wealth. You can't appreciate wealth unless you've been poor. You have to have these opposites. You're never going to improve at something if you don't have hurdles, like obstacles. You don't improve unless you fail. Failure is, if there's one thing that I would recommend that parents teach to their children, that is teach their children to fail a lot and keep going. So I don't get this utopian idea. I've never been able to understand it, and for me it sounds like grasping at something that there's always going to be out of our reach.
What makes that any less or more possible than the dystopia where we're all extinct?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. This is why I'm trying to say
we're
that I'm
talking
not
about two extremes.
Yeah,
one of us is we're all dead, and the other one on the positive side is that's the one I'm shooting for.
Yeah, but I think that these things are fluid and dynamic.
Yeah,
and it's not that we're going to arrive at a time or a state where okay, no, I don't want to say it like that because I don't really believe what I'm about to say. But what I was going to say is that we're not going to arrive at a time where evil is totally extinct, for want of a better word. That these malevolent, it's like the Harry Potter stories, like the Harry Potter epic. There's this malevolent force in the background that has been dormant for however long, that's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, coming back to the forefront. I think it's much more like Harry Potter. Life is much more like Harry Potter than Utopia. It's more that this thing will always exist, this malevolence. It's something that's part of human nature. We've all got it. You, me, everybody, everyone you come into contact with. And it will, from time to time throughout human history, it will ebb and flow. Like there will be, and it will be geographic as well. We might get it so that Australia is a utopia, but North Korea is still a living hell. Do you see what I mean? It's not. It might not be
Yeah.
planet wide.
Yeah.
So I think that's always going to exist. There's going to be an ebb and flow. There's going to be resistance, and and I don't think that they can exist without each other.
Right. So I totally agree that you need friction for growth.
Yeah.
Completely. So this duality that we are in this realm.
But sorry, because I wanted to bring this back to this topic of AI.
Yeah.
I think that this is what people are worried about, is that at the moment, let's say, and you're talking about a very, very optimistic vision, okay? At the moment, what I don't know how you described it, but you said this political cabal that is in control of everything. They, for example, you used Hollywood or feature film industry. They're in control of that industry, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be nice, it would be fantastic if that is really a thing, if that cabal really exists and they really are doing, if they have control over everything. It would be nice if they didn't have control anymore and that it was put into hands of people that were much more reasonable and that people had more freedom and more sovereignty. Okay, but what I think that they're talking about, this thing that we showed on the screen earlier on, is what happens if AI takes control of that somehow. Unwittingly, we allow it to take control of that because we haven't been watching the ball of who is regulating or how AI is being developed. What will happen? That's what people are worried about. I think.
Well, if that happens,
and it's something that people have thought about. We talked about feature films and Skynet and Terminator. That whole story is about what happened. That's what happens. Yeah.
So we talk about the spiritual, is it the spiritual markets?
Okay, yeah.
So one of my things that comes along with this spiritual market concept is that if that sort of thing happens, and we've chosen before we incarnated here to go through that. So, if it happens, we'll learn a load of stuff from it.
Yeah.
It'll be very exciting. Think about the sort of thriller movies that we watch. It's because it's exciting to be thrilled. And if that does happen, okay, we'll go through it. We'll have a mass extinction event, and then we'll be on to the next one, or we go on to the next level.
Yeah.
So even if it's like that, I'm not too worried about it because I think we're eternal. I
think that's much more realistic. What you just said.
Right.
Yeah. That I think it's much more realistic to. And I'm not a doom or gloomer. I have to really underscore this. But if we're talking about going forward and looking at what happens during the next 500 years, let's say, to humankind, I would say it's much more likely that we're decimated by something, and that there's 10% survival rate for humankind, whether it's an asteroid strike or alien invasion or a pandemic or whatever, then it turns into a utopia where we all get universal credit and got time to practice guitar. I think it's much more realistic. Yeah.
Each to his own.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep on, because I'm just seeing the productivity and the creative possibilities just where I think we're being given a wonderful gift of being able to do more things than we were before.
Yeah.
And I think that
that's true.
I think there's a benevolent, because it kind of came out of nowhere. ChatGPT, all of a sudden, we all had access to it. That just, to me, seemed like some benevolent players behind the scenes have said, right, let's put this out. Let's give it to everyone. And let's see what we do with it. Because we're in this hyper-connected state now. Everyone's hyper-connected.
But if we just go back to what we had on the screen before, this 22-word statement, you've got to get going, yeah?
No, well...
Yeah. But, I mean, all I was going to say is that when I saw that, that 22-word statement,
Yeah.
I kind of like had a drop-down menu of like Terminator Arnie style drop-down menu of options of how to view it. Like face value, that's one way to view it. They could be really worried.
Yeah.
Another way to view it is that they just want to... Okay, everyone's bored with... I've said this already. I feel like I'm repeating myself. I said this kind of analogy to you before, but it's like everybody's bored of climate change and Greta Thunberg and pandemics. So what else can we give the sheeple, like the masses to worry about now?
Yeah.
For them to get all panic stricken about.
Yeah.
Let's throw AI in as another thing for them to worry about.
I mean, I've got my very optimistic take on this as well.
Yeah.
Because from a negative standpoint, it seems like that. Okay, well, it's problem, reaction, solution. We brought you terrorism at a scale that was never, the CIA and how many regimes they've overthrown, and a lot of the weather engineering, and there's a lot of the time
everyone's bored of terrorism. What next?
Yeah, and it's more often than not, it's like rogue elements within governments. It's like covert black ops, and it's basically to keep us in a state of fear.
Yeah.
And to keep the money rolling in so that our taxes are going off to fund, these efforts against the war, or these efforts against the pandemic, or these efforts against whatever. And it'll be efforts against, potentially efforts against the AI. Oh, well, we need to pay more money. We need to pay more taxes because we've got to be safe against the AI. And that's the kind of tactics that the controllers have been using for many, many, many years. But I personally think that does happen. So one scenario that I've been waiting for a while is like a cyber attack on the financial institutions, like banks. Just everyone's at zero, because behind the scenes, as far as I'm aware, from the significant amounts
for a lot of people, that would be a bonus.
Yeah,
if you've got an overdraft, that's a bonus.
Yeah. So what I understand is there's a new financial system that's modern and ready to be rolled out, but the old has to die a death first before, and also the riches that this globalist elites have accrued will then become worthless, or it will be transferred over. Okay. Because and one of the ways that could happen could be an AI breach, or some kind of cyber attack. So again, I'm thinking ahead, and I'm thinking that could be used to do that.
Yeah.
So that almost makes me think that maybe that's why that narrative is being out. That's why everyone is now aware of ChatGPT and AI and how powerful it is.
It's incredible. That's how it's like 2 months.
Yeah.
And it's a thing.
So that could be part of the pre-narrative for the cyber attack, which wipes out all the banks, and then re-rolling the new system. Again, I'm hugely optimistic because I've done a lot of research for the stuff which is waiting in the wings. And I could be wrong. In which case they've done a really big number on me. And so I don't know. If it's being pushed out as a narrative, and like we need to worry about this, is probably because someone's going to do something.
I thought about, obviously, because I've got it up on screen. I've thought about this quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I still can't figure it out, Louis. Honestly, I can't figure this out. But it could be that this open letter, which was pages and pages and pages and pages and thousands of signatures, it just had no impact. It hasn't had any impact. Nothing's slowing down. No governments have made big proclamations about AI or anything. Nothing. But that's 22 words, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth word is extinction. They're trying to get our attention. Yeah. And you have to look at the signatories to understand that the people that signed this are well-known people. It's I don't think Elon Musk is one of them. But it's people high up in AI, so people like Sam Altman, and tech industry leaders like the CEO of Google and blah, 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 blah. It's all notable figures, yeah, they're trying to get our attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is designed to get our attention. Why are they trying to get our attention? So I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's like it's very, very, very strange situation.
It's like, have all this AI candy,
Yeah.
go make cool YouTube videos, put it
Yeah.
all over TikTok, it's all over YouTube Shorts, it's everywhere.
And then we're going to tell it it's going to extinct you.
Yeah. It's like, okay, there's something going on with that, and it's a good idea to be suspicious. But I think the good guys are in control, and the art of war is what's the word? I can't think of the word. But it's like I want to look it up. I can't think of the word, but it's where you're just lying. It's just lying. The art of war is lying. It's like making it look like the bad
covert. Deception.
Deception.
Yeah,
Is the word. It's the word. The art of war is deception. So I've seen a lot of the times where things the good guys have been doing, and it's actually the good guys have been doing it. They're making it look like the bad guys are doing it. So this is one of those kind of things where
smoke screens.
Yeah.
Deception. Yeah.
So it could be. It looks like it's the bad guys, or it's the AI that's doing this thing that brings down all the banks, but it could be the good guys doing it to usher in this new financial system.
I mean, I think I want to wrap this up pretty soon. I do want to talk a little bit about the music industry or let's say creative arts and AI a bit. But I mean, just on that last point that you're making, I'm not first of all, I'm not trying to say that I've got an idea about how to do this. I've got no clue how to do it, and I'm not suggesting that that we should have controls, but I can't see how anyone can now regulate AI. It's not possible to regulate it. It's the genie's out of the bottle. There's transformation models, like program models that you can use to do all sorts of different transformations just on open source, available to everyone. And anyone who's got a little bit of, or not a little bit, but got some programming know-how can do something with that. So the obvious question, I mean, it's so obvious. I'm not trying to sound like I'm clever and the first person that came up with this, but what happens if a rogue individual, like the kind of like supervillain from a Bond movie type rogue individual psychopath gets hold of this and uses it? And we got to hope that there's a James Bond figure who, like intervenes and stops it from happening. But that could be a thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to play around with this. I'm just going to be very, very, very straightforward about what I think. First of all, with regards to the music industry, I think that there's two very distinct strands. There's the creative strand and there's the business strand. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, I think that like if I had a young musician in front of me who was contemplating a career in music, I wouldn't say don't have anything to do with music business. I think it's a really, really good idea to be savvy about and to treat music as a business. Like it's your skill. You should get paid for what you do. So I wouldn't suggest to them to shy away from business people. Yeah, be shrewd about which business people you deal with, but don't shy away from it. So I'm not saying that it's bad, like that there's a business side and it should only be creative. From a creative side, I'm really excited. I'm going to experiment. I'm probably going to release songs that have been totally written by ChatGPT, and I'll probably put my name to it and, like plagiarise ChatGPT and say it's my lyric. No one will ever find out. No one will ever know. So why not? I haven't looked into transformation programs that will create music for you. I don't even know if they exist. I'm sure if they don't exist, that they will exist very, very soon. So what I mean is that you give it some prompts. Like for example, you say that you want the song to be in A minor, and you want it to be at a tempo that is in the hit selling ballpark. Like they can analyze all the hits from the last 50 years that were in A minor. Like what tempo should it be, and what is the most high selling chord sequence? What's the most high selling arrangement? And you take all of that data and say, okay, give me 6 versions of this song, and I'm sure there's going to be a program that does that. That to me is not really artificial intelligence. That's intellect. From my understanding, it's just basically taking a huge amount of data.
Yeah.
And then making some very, very it's making decisions based on data. It's better to be at that tempo because there was more hits at that tempo.
Yeah.
That's a better chord progression because more hits have been sold. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not really creative. It's great. I'm wondering what's going to happen when there's some. It's probably happening at the moment. It shows my ignorance about this. When some program is learning all of the tricks and history of Bach, Beethoven, all of the great composers, and then coming up with their own compositions. Like AI that actually comes up with its own compositions. I think that would be really interesting. I don't know who's doing it. So definitely as a songwriter and as a musician, I'm going to experiment with it. I know, like the obvious one, I mean, as far as I know, Grimes, who is like Vancouver, she originally from Vancouver, I don't know what she describes herself as. I don't even know if she describes herself as a she. I don't want to misgender her, but, she's she seems like a woman to me. She's got kids with Elon Musk, so she must be a woman who makes music using all sorts of different electronic media. And the main thing that she's been using at the moment is AI. And you can actually, through one of her portals, you can actually submit your lyric and your melody, and then her AI will sing it back with her voice, and then you can use her voice on your track. And she says, if you do that, I'll split the royalties with you 50-50. So there's a business element to it. But she's now on I don't know how many different songs that are on YouTube. She didn't actually sing. It's the AI that did it, but it's her voice. So there's going to be all sorts of things like this that we never even thought about. Yeah, like different ways that it's going to go. I think that's really interesting. How that's going to develop. I'm going to try and put my toe in the water with that and see what happens. But time, I don't have so much time to do that. But it does interest me.
Yeah, I'd like to see how you get on with it.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to throw anything in there before I say my final bit about this. Is there anything that is?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you in terms of I'd like to have a look at. There was a few things I saw last night that I want to try and actually get my hands on and just
what
see.
Kind of things?
Things that can help with like the production flow. So like the compression.
Yeah.
EQ.
Yeah.
To take that as like a big block for me.
So like helper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could just say, right, can you get them all kind of the same,
Yeah.
So was it gain staging? So they're all sort of gain stage.
Yeah.
Right. And the right levels to go into the plugins and get good sounds out of the plugins. So I can spend more time just making the sounds rather than making the sounds sound nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, instrument ideas. So rather than me have to get the MIDI keyboard out and try and be a bit more of a keyboard player than I am, to just get something that can add a part.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
But I haven't delved very deep into finding out what are the best tools for that.
Yeah.
And also anything to do with like video production to make like short videos out of longer videos. That I'm looking into that as well. Which would be,
Artwork, graphics.
well, yeah, Mid-Journey. So I was looking at Mid-Journey.
I don't even know what that is. I keep on seeing it come up in things that I'm looking at, but I don't know. What is Mid-Journey?
Mid-Journey, you give it a text prompt and it will generate an image, whether it's cartoony or looking photorealistic.
It's something you have to pay for, or is it a free platform?
At the moment, I think it's free for a certain amount of requests. It uses Discord. Do you know what Discord is?
Yeah.
So you use Discord and you put your prompt into Discord and it spits out some pictures. And you can even say shot on a Fujifilm whatever camera, and it will emulate that. I mean, it's incredible, really incredible.
And how long has that been around for?
Again, that came out at the same time as ChatGPT, into my consciousness anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but there's other versions of Mid-Journey. I think there's other free one, like free.
Yeah.
Like unlimited free. But there's so many out there.
Yeah.
And I guess
they just suddenly appeared.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And that's the other thing that I found incredible about this. Is that it wasn't here 2 months ago. Again, you said to your consciousness it wasn't. To my consciousness, it wasn't here.
Yeah.
I've only been aware of this for like 3 or 4 months now. If that. Yeah, 3 or 4 months. I mean, really what I was going to say, what struck me... okay, we talked about this a little bit when you were talking about your musical journey, for want of a better word. Okay, and this whole idea of commercial music, the commercial music industry. So, but I think I made it clear that I don't really, for me anyway, I don't see any space in that industry for me. You know, like I'm never going to be an Ed Sheeran. You know, I'm not going to have billions and billions of followers and billions of streams and do world tours or something like this. Okay, but it doesn't mean to say that. And I'm sure there's so many people like me that, you know, we still have a passion for music and still have a passion for songwriting. Yeah. So it's more that it's that's not a commercial space for me, and it's not a commercial space I want to be in. Excuse me, I'm getting a bit croaky again. I just need to keep sipping bits of water. So we talked about Mary Spender and others, you know, like this subscription-based thing where you give everything away free and you take small amounts of money in subscriptions from people who just, they like what you're doing as generally. It's not like they like that particular thing that you made last week. It's just your general approach to things. I think that's a much more healthy and realistic, like long-term model for creative people.
Yep.
You know, not just musicians, you know, artists, filmmakers, whatever. Okay. But it doesn't, the mainstream music industry is still the giant. I mean, I don't know the exact data. I have no idea about the statistics, but it will be thousands of times bigger than a subscription-based community. You know, in terms of the revenue that it generates and the money that's invested in that industry is going to be, you know, like David and Goliath type thing. That the subscription-based industry is going to be tiny in comparison with the mainstream. But the mainstream, it has a kind of like a flow to it. Okay, it needs music. You need songs specifically, so it needs Ed Sheerans, you know, like songwriters, for the record companies to, and this is their term, not my term. It's what you see actually in music business legal contracts, for them to exploit. They need to exploit the works of songwriters. Yes, and the obviously, if Ed Sheeran was the amazing songwriter that he is, and didn't want to be in the public eye, they'd have nothing to exploit. They need songwriters who want to be in the public eye and do world tours and like write and record and tour ceaselessly. That's what they're looking for. And then the record companies have to market that product and distribute it. The main way that the music industry markets product is world tours. Like bands that go out and play on tours, because it also means that they can sell merchandise, which is probably more money than streams. I don't know, but I would guess. But where I'm going with this is that the record companies need distribution networks. Before it used to be, like people delivering physical records or CDs to record shops and selling them on the high street. Yeah. Now it's Spotify and YouTube. Okay. So where I'm going with this is that we've seen, or I think this is what, if I understood the data properly, in 2 months, deep fake versions of so AI generated music has got to the same level as the Beatles in terms of the amount of plays and the streams, the popularity of it. It's nowhere up with it. It's not in billions. It's nowhere up with with Ed Sheeran or the other kind of like main music business icons. Yeah. So at the moment, I don't think record companies would do anything. I think that they'll be very comfortable with that. That they'll, if that is generating money for them, if they can claw back money from tracks that have been written by Drake and have now been copied by AI, they'll take the money. Yeah, they won't try and stop it. They'll allow it to continue, and they will encourage their artists to let people do that because it's another revenue stream. Yeah. But at some point, and I don't know when it will be. I don't know whether it will be in a month or in 5 years or next year or so, but at some point, or it might be now. It might be happening now. Record companies will create departments that essentially are AI departments for creating AI artists and AI music. Yeah. Because it's much more easy to manage AI than it is to manage a human. Yeah. No, you don't. You're not going to get complaints from AI about turning up to rehearsals or the hotel wasn't good enough or blah 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah. Where I'm going with this is that eventually, if I understood this, one of the biggest investors in Spotify are the likes of Universal and Sony. The big record companies have got huge investment in Spotify stocks. Yeah. But Spotify control that distribution network. At some point, someone in Spotify is going to realise that if they create an AI department that creates AI artists and AI music, they don't need the record companies anymore. And it will be one huge bun fight. It could be potentially a huge, huge, because they could literally just cut off the record companies. They probably couldn't do it at the moment legally because the record companies are investors in Spotify, but they could completely cut off the record companies' revenue potentially and completely control the distribution of music globally and have all of the music created by AI. Now, that's not a very optimistic outlook, but it is one possible way that it goes. And I would assume, my assumption would be that something like that will manifest in the next 5 or 10 years. There'll be some version of that will manifest.
Yeah, and there'll be a market for it. But there's also going to be a huge market for people that want the authenticity behind who's the artist, who's putting out Instagram posts, 3 times a day, and you won't get an AI doing that. You could potentially get an AI doing that, but
could be more interesting, and they could probably do like 1,000 times the amount of tweets than a real.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks like body language that you're done.
It's
and you've got to go.
We've got way over.
Yeah, okay.
We've gone way over.
Well,
But
listen, if there's anything else you want to say, just say it. I will shut up.
No, I just want to. I'll just look at my my list that I quickly did. Grunt work, yeah. So the business side. I saw an example of ChatGPT being great for scheduling plans. So you say I want to release my album in 2 months.
Yeah.
I've got this, and this to do. Create a plan for me for social media and for finishing these tasks and getting
Project
the mastering.
management.
Yeah. And it was really good. It was really good. So if so I might think about, well, I want to plan a video shoot and a launch for my next song, including social media. How can I do this? I've got 2 months to do it, and see what it comes up with.
Yeah.
And that might give me something to stick at and to prioritize rather than kids and house maintenance and stuff like that.
Get up at 5 and do 3 hours guitar practice.
Yeah. People want to know who's behind the music. That's how you create the community. Who's telling the story? Yeah. So that said that. And funny enough, I said moving towards a world where money isn't going to be as essential like it is now. And when that happens, music will be done for the love of doing it, and we won't be in competition with AI.
So, like authentic inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you think that AI will ever be able to mimic that? Well, no. Sorry, I've answered my own question. It can mimic it at the moment. It is quite good at mimicking this. My question is, do you think AI, so artificial intelligence, will ever be capable of authentic inspiration?
So that would be if it wants to make music.
Yeah.
If it wants
It wakes up, AI gets booted in the morning and thinks, I've got a blinding song that I've got to get out of me.
Could well be. It could well be. Yeah. Maybe there already is a level of sentience that's
wow. You think so?
I hear rumblings that Google became sentient at some point. So yeah, maybe it's already out there.
What you mean, Google's AI or Google the search engine?
Exactly what element of it, I don't know. But something that has access to every piece of information that Google has.
Yeah.
And then has become sentient in some way, shape or form.
That's really, really scary. I mean, for me, when I say it's really scary, it's really, really scary because the stuff that people must search for on Google, if that was the trigger for your sentience, it would be soul destroying.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's the place to end it.
Yeah.
Okay, Louis, thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
I hope we do this again.
Yeah.
Like maybe in another month or 6 weeks. We'll try and keep it more succinct and shorter. Cool. I will work on that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay.
Cheers, mate.